Hello, beloved truth seekers and romantic realists. Welcome back to the Cozy Corner where whispers become stories and stories become the heartbeat of our community. You're watching Turkish series Stars, the rendezvous for anyone who believes that love isn't just red carpets and perfect angles, but long conversations, tough choices, and the courage to try again. Tonight, we're stepping away from screaming headlines to tell a softer tale. One stitched together by patience, humility, and the kind of honesty that changes the weather inside a family. Before we settle into this tender narrative, if you haven't yet, hit subscribe to Turkish series Stars and tap the bell so you're first in line when truth knocks. Your comments, your likes, and your presence are the engines of this channel, and for those who want to keep the lights burning a little brighter, our join button is there for your support. Let's turn the page to a story that has hovered in the background of showbiz chatter for ages, one we've glimpsed only through fogged glass and cryptic captions. The names you know well: Can Yaman, a force of intensity and discipline; Demet Özdemir, luminous and fiercely independent; and her sister, the protective and perceptive Derya Özdemir. For months, even years, the rumor mill suggested an icy stretch of silence between Can and Derya. Some called it apathy. Others labeled it friction. Few guessed the truth. It wasn't a storm that split them. It wasn't betrayal. It was something far more ordinary and, in a way, far more human: good intentions lost in translation. To understand the present, we have to touch the past carefully. In the earliest days of Can and Demet's romance, when the air around them crackled with attention, Can chose privacy like a lifeline. He wasn't hiding Demet. He was sheltering her. Those who know him say he lives by a code. Work speaks, private life stays sacred. In his mind, a guarded space was a gift, a ring of calm around a young love trying to breathe amid 1,000 curious eyes. He wanted to protect Demet's autonomy, her career, her rhythm, all while building their bond away from flashbulbs. But silence is a complicated mirror, and people don't all see the same reflection. From where Derya stood, big sister, constant lookout, distance felt like a wall, not a shield. She worried. Was Demet overwhelmed? Was Can disengaged from the family? Were the skipped gatherings and delayed introductions a sign of disregard? A dinner that Can postponed with the earnest promise of soon, when things are calmer, landed on Derya's heart as not a priority. And in families where presence equals love, absence, even well-intended, can feel like a bruise. So the quiet grew. Little misunderstandings turned into a vocabulary of avoidance. No blow-ups, no drama, just a habit of steering around the hard talk. Can, careful not to spark conflict or feed tabloids, kept his circle tight. Derya, unwilling to unsettle her sister, pulled back with dignified caution. And Demet, caught in the middle, the bridge over waters that stayed still but deep, chose peace over confrontation, hoping time would soften what words might harden. For the public, the picture was simple: coolness, tension, an unspoken rift. For those inside, it was more like a corridor with too many closed doors. Then came the night that changed the script: Derya's birthday. It wasn't just a date on a calendar, it was an inflection point. Hours before the candles were lit and the cameras found their angles, Can and Derya sat down and did what they had avoided for far too long. They talked. Not about who was right, but about what had been felt. Can's words were plain and heavy with sincerity. He explained the promise he had made to himself. Protect Demet's space, support her choices, keep their world clean of unnecessary noise. He spoke of respect, not distance, of privacy, not indifference. And Derya, with the clarity of someone who loves fiercely, admitted to creating a buffer out of caution, to reading the quiet as a verdict, when it was really just a boundary set in love. Witnesses say you could feel the air change. The tension didn't explode, it evaporated. When the party began, what followed wasn't a performance. It was relief. The photos told a story: the comfortable proximity, the laughter that crept in without effort, the way conversation moved without guardrails. Can's presence at Derya's celebration wasn't a technicality, it was a message, a bridge rebuilt plank by plank. Guests murmured that the awkwardness that once shadowed the room was gone, replaced by a warmth that felt both brand new and overdue. Demet, meanwhile, let out a breath she'd been holding for a very long time. Friends describe her as lighter that night, her smile unforced, her shoulders finally unburdened. If you listened closely between songs and toasts, you might have caught the sentence she reportedly shared with trusted friends: "This is what I wanted most." Not a car, not a contract, not a headline, just ease between the people she loves. And then, as happens when a knot loosens, everything else followed. After the celebration, word is that Can didn't treat the reconciliation as symbolic. He showed up. Family dinners no longer felt like a stage, they felt like home. He and Derya started talking one-on-one, not because they had to, but because the distance no longer made sense. They even began trading ideas, we hear, about joint projects that fold together their shared interests, work with purpose, charity ventures, creative collaborations that amplify what really matters. None of it looked calculated. It read like two people finally seeing each other as allies, not as figures plotted on opposite ends of a headline. Those close to the circle say Derya's perspective shifted as she observed Can more closely in Demet's orbit. She watched how he listens when Demet talks about her roles, how he lets her ambition stand unchallenged and celebrates her gutsy decisions. She noticed the absence of meddling. The way he respects her pace, even when it would be easier to press. That once perceived distance began to look like deliberate respect, an understanding that love isn't control, and partnership isn't possession. In that realization, years of stored-up worries quietly dissolved into something steadier: trust. One moment from the party keeps being retold in circles that swear they were there. During a toast, simple, heartfelt, Can directed a few words toward Derya. Nothing theatrical, just gratitude and a promise to be present. Derya's response, warm and unguarded, was the final cue that the ice had truly thawed. It wasn't only the sister and the boyfriend making peace, it was a whole family exhaling together, closing a chapter they never meant to write. If you've ever misread silence as disinterest, if you've ever mistaken caution for coldness, you know how easily stories can twist themselves in our minds. That's why this little victory matters. It reminds us that not every pause is a rejection, and not every boundary is a wall. In the gossip lanes, there had been talking points for ages, speculation, theories, supposed slights. But in the end, the truth was simple. No feud. No scandal. Just a conversation that happened later than it should have, and right on time. Since that night, the signs have been steady. More shared photos, sure, but it's the subtler shifts that speak loudest. The relaxed body language. The way Demet leans in without glancing sideways, as if she no longer has to manage the temperature of every room. The cheerful rhythm of gatherings that stretch late, filled with easy laughter and those meandering, meaningful talks that families are built on. It's not a polished fairy tale. It's better. It's human. There's a broader ripple here too. The warmth now flowing between Can and Derya has been read as a promising omen for the future of Can and Demet's relationship. When a partner knits into the family fabric, not as a guest star but as a thread that belongs, everything steadies. Sources close to them say the foundation looks stronger than ever, less about performance and more about presence. The kind that lasts when the lights dim and the music stops. And for those who wondered what Demet needed most throughout this long balance act, the answer is quieter than you might expect. She needed peace. In her home, in her heart, in the spaces where her work and her life meet. She needed to know the people she loves could share a room without walking on eggshells. That's what she has now. It shows in her energy, in her choices, in the way she moves through her days with a certain ease that can't be faked. We can't end without tipping our hats to the lesson tucked inside this story. If the tabloids sold a saga, reality offered a whisper. Not everything you hear is true, and not everything that's true is loud. Sometimes the loudest thing is the moment two people choose to lay their weapons down and listen. That's what happened here. A late conversation, a birthday toast, a room full of friends who sensed something important had shifted. And the morning after, a new rhythm taking shape, as simple and radical as picking up the phone and asking, "When can we see you again?" To our incredible audience at Turkish Series Stars, we want to hear from you. Have you lived through a misunderstanding that melted the moment someone finally spoke from the heart? Did you mistake reserve for rejection, only to discover it was care in disguise? Share your stories below. Your voices make this space what it is. And if this tale of healing gave you hope, don't forget to subscribe, like, and pass it along to someone who might need it. For those who want to keep uplifting narratives alive and thriving, the join button is waiting. As for Yaman and Demet Özdemir, the signals are clear. This wasn't a PR fix or a staged détente. It was a real moment between real people, changing the texture of their days. The family circle feels warmer, the future looks steadier, and the love story at the center, tested, private, protected, seems to be standing on firmer ground than ever. Whatever comes next, they'll be meeting it not as scattered islands, but as a connected shore. Tonight, we close with the image that has lingered ever since Derya''s celebration, a sister smiling without reservations, a partner choosing presence over perfection, and Demet watching the two of them share a joke, her eyes crinkling the way they do when peace feels permanent. It's not a headline. It's a homecoming. And it's exactly the kind of truth we're here to tell. You've been watching Turkish Series Stars. Thank you for staying with us through a story that proves one brave conversation can reshape an entire landscape. If you felt the warmth we felt, hit subscribe, tap the bell, and consider joining our community to help us keep bringing you stories that don't just trend, they heal. Until next time, keep your hearts open, your words honest, and your love a little louder than your fear.